Dance is a Spiritu, and I will be moderating our presentation today with Dan Lin. And I would just like to say, welcome to the McDonald's Education Workshop.
I'm excited to be here and see all different faces and parents and kids, people of all different ages. As I talked about before, my interviews before this, I wish I had an opportunity like this when I was your age, when I was in high school, even younger. And I'm just glad that really McDonald's are doing this, so we're really commending them for their efforts.
Okay, so just a quick run through on Dan's bio. Dan Lin, he is the current CEO of Lin Pictures.
To the actual filming of the movie. So he starts with finding the idea, hiring a writer to write the script, then bring on a director to help you direct the script, and also get the cast of the movie. And when we shoot the movie, I'm actually on set overseeing the production of the movie. Finish filming the movie, and when that's done, we go through an editing process where we do editing, do visual effects, sound effects, and finish the movie. So that's my job. It's really just make a movie from start to finish. In school, my summer internship, I interned at Warner Brothers in the film department, and I started my career from there.
When you made your career choice, how did the people around you react, primarily your parents?
Yeah. My parents, to their credit, were very supportive. At first, they were very surprised. Film production is not a traditional path for Asian Americans, and frankly, my parents didn't know what I did for many years. It wasn't really until they saw my name before a movie that they understood that I was actually doing something here in LA. But ultimately, they were very supportive. But for me, and I think it's important here for education, that I continued my education. You know, I not only went to undergrad and finished my degree, but also got a graduate degree. And that for them, that was an insurance policy, and it was probably an insurance policy for me as well. That was to go down a path that was very non-traditional. But if things didn't work out, I had something that I could fall back on. So I think a lesson for me is, one, knowledge is power, and education gave me a lot of different choices, and I want you guys to take that away, that because I did well in school, it gave me a lot of different opportunities. And then once I pursued those opportunities, if it didn't work out for some reason, and ultimately in my case, I was very lucky that it did, but I would have a fallback, it would give me other options. And I think that's really important.
So how often do you utilize what you learned in business school in the production of movies?
Yeah, for me, it's not only what I learned in business school, but just school in general. You know, when you make movies, scripts are really important. It's all about story and characters. And so things that I thought were not fun in school have now all come back to really help me. So certainly literature classes, history classes, art history classes, even more the math, even science can come into play when you make sci-fi movies. So it's really, for me, building a broad-based education, broad-based knowledge. And now I'm telling stories that can fall in, you know, I can tell historical movies. I'm working on a movie on Moses right now. I produced the Sherlock Holmes movies were based on literature, based on books. Making a sci-fi movie as well, doing a Godzilla movie right now. So it really touches on all the different subjects that you learn in school and kind of coalesce it together. So when you're in school, at least when I was in school, I didn't know exactly why I was studying some of these things. But when you actually out in the workplace, you realize, wow, some of the things I learned back in school are really helping me now.
Prior to coming into Hollywood, did you have any inspiration or role models who have or currently work in Hollywood? And why are they your inspiration?
Yeah, to be honest, before I came to Hollywood, I didn't know anything about Hollywood. You know, I didn't know anybody in town, so I think there wasn't a particular Hollywood role model. You know, it's traditional. You know, for me, it was my parents, and that they really encouraged me to do what I was passionate about. My grandfather had a very different philosophy than my father did. My grandfather's philosophy is very traditional Taiwanese, which was kids are like water, and they will fit whatever cup that you give them. And so, as a result, in my dad's family, a lot of them pursued medicine, and it wasn't what they were passionate about, but they pursued it because, again, my grandfather's philosophy was the kids will just mold into what you want them to be. And luckily, my dad had a different philosophy and said, you know, why don't you explore your interests, explore your passions, and if you do that, you will do well because what you're doing every day, you will truly love. And I've been really lucky in that way. You know, I break down kind of different careers that people take, and I think it's in the two ways. One, work to live, and the second is live to work. And both are fine, both are perfectly acceptable. I think you just have to decide what you want to do. Some people work so they can live the life that they want to live, they can do the hobbies that they want to do. For me, I'm lucky enough that I live to work. So what I do every day doesn't feel like work to me. It's really, basically for me, it's I'm playing every day. I'm living kind of the fantasy life. I'm working in fantasy every day. I'm telling stories, and so for me, it doesn't feel like work, and that just gets me excited every day.
So I know the movie industry can be a very competitive industry. So, what kind of obstacles have you run into, and how do you keep yourself motivated to get past those obstacles?
I think the biggest obstacle is the word no. Everything, whether they say, for me, I'm very cognizant. I'm one of 2 Asian American film producers in the business. So when you're first starting out, people ask, hey, what are you doing? I'm saying I want to be a film producer. You hear, no. People think there hasn't been one before. There hasn't been a role model or example like that in the past. Or if I'm trying to tell a story or make a movie, oftentimes, and that's people's job to say no, it's not a good idea. And so for me, the biggest thing is how do I get past no? How do you convince somebody that your idea is the right idea? How do you express your vision or your dream so that the other people can understand that as well? So that applies both in making a movie or even for the kids out there about what you really want to do in life. How do you help your parents or your friends or your family understand what you really want to do and that is the right thing for you to pursue?
So there are many successful people out there in the world, and their stories have served as an inspiration. So to an entire younger generation, such as the people that we see here today. If you were to make like a biopic on any specific inspirational person, who would it be and why?
Yeah, for me it would be Steve Jobs. Unfortunately, when I went after the rights for his biography, somebody had already taken them. But for me, it's because Steve, for a number of reasons. Obviously, there's the negative parts of his personality, but for me, it's inspirational because he had a vision for things that had not yet existed. Whether it's you look at your iPhone, your iPad, there are things that didn't exist, but he saw them in his mind and he willed them to existence. And he had a vision for things that could help people in ways that people can understand. And so if you ask somebody, did they need an iPhone or an iPad, they would probably say no because they didn't know what it truly encompassed, but he knew in his mind that how it would help people. So for me, that's inspirational.
Now on to a more different topic, something away from Hollywood. So I understand that you were very involved in charity and sports, and you're very active in the community, and you do a lot of community service. Are there any specific charities you support, and why is community service so important to you?
Yeah, we do a lot of different things, or I do a lot of different things to try to just benefit the community and really help the environment that I live in. For me, on a professional level, I'm on a board of something called CAPE, which is Coalition of Asian Pacifics in Entertainment. So it's to help other Asian Americans get into the entertainment business, whether it's film or TV. So that's more on the professional side. And myself, now that I run my own company, we try to do as many community events as we can. And so for me, every Thanksgiving, our company goes and we serve Thanksgiving dinner to the shelter in downtown LA. In the winter, we also help out at a winter shelter in Hollywood. And for me, it benefits on a number of levels. When I'm making a movie, it takes a long time to make a movie. From start to finish, if we're lucky, it takes 3 years. But when we're doing community service, you really get instant gratification. So it's both personal and frankly selfish as well. We're helping other people, but you really see the benefit of helping other people instantly. And the second part of it is we're telling stories. And for us, as you realize, when we actually went to the winter shelter, we realized how smart some of these people were that are unemployed, that are struggling, and how they have their own story as well. And that hopefully by us helping them and telling our own story inspires them to get out in the workforce.
So if you weren't working in the movie production business, what do you think you would be doing right now? As opposed?
For me, my dream is to retire in 10 years and go back to Harvard and teach. I think there's, and it's not meant to be a commercial for Harvard, but it's not a coincidence that both Jay and I went to Harvard. I think to give yourself as much opportunity as possible for the kids out there, it's really try to do the best you can. I mean, the fact that Jay and I went to Harvard just gave us a lot of opportunities. It opens a lot of doors. There's a alumni network that you can tap into. And so for me, my dream would be to go back and teach at Harvard to help the next generation. And also, I always feel like the next generation really challenges us in learning. and in ways that I can't get day to day at work. So that's something that I look forward to.
So you yourself as a parent, how will you help your children to identify what they're good at and possibly achieve their goals?
Yeah, for me, I tell my kids, I have 2 boys, one is 8 and one is 4, and I really encourage them never to quit, to find out what they're passionate about and just keep pursuing it. They may not be good at it at first, but if they truly love it, never to quit. The second part is I'm really encouraging my kids to be bilingual in this world. I'm very lucky that we have someone in our family that's helping us teach my kids fluent Mandarin. But for me, I speak Mandarin. I wish my vocabulary were more expanded than it is. But I also wish I could read and write Chinese, which I can't. But in this world, the marketplace is changing quickly. The Asian population, specifically in China, is growing quickly. And so even in my business as a film producer, for me, I think China is the next frontier. And so I wish I had more skills in reading and writing Chinese. And so I'm encouraging that with my kids as well.
Would you have any advice, for maybe kids out here, the ones who are applying to college, this coming fall, or anyone, or even kids as young as that are in middle school? Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, my advice is, don't just pursue the traditional Asian American path of studying hard in school. Certainly do that, and I did that as well. But also, stick your head up in the books and really get a well-rounded education. Go out and pursue your hobbies. Really do community service if you can. But go out and do as many things as possible out in the world. You would not think that as a film producer, but as a film producer, I am telling stories, and to tell stories, you have to have experienced life. And I think even if you don't want to be a film producer, if you want to be an artist, if you want to be a doctor, I think it's really important for you to experience life and be able to be in that other person's shoes. And to really do that, it's not just from reading and writing and math and science, and that's really important, but it's also to go out and experience the world and experience what other people are going through as well.